perfect age, 8, 10, and 12.
Okay,
Woman now. 25.
we'll call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors for July 15th together. Pledge allegiance to be led by Supervisor Merlino.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do the roll call.
Mr. Conover?
Here.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond?
Here.
Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer? Here. Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Drossy?
Here.
Ms. Hogan? Here. Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino?
Here.
Mr. Stroud?
Here.
Mr. Wild?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Ms. Seaver? Here. Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Runyon? Here. Chairman Garrity?
Here.
Quorum is established.
First item of business to approve the minutes of the June 30th board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Dixon, second by Supervisor Jurassic. Any corrections? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, we have the employee of the month presentation. And I'll ask Julie Butler to come forward.
Good morning, everyone. For July's Employee of the Month, I nominated Jason Spur. He's my deputy. He won't remember this, but almost exactly 15 years ago, on July 16th, 2007, he submitted his resume to me. I called him 2 days later to set up an interview. He was the last of 10 individuals interviewed for the position, and I knew immediately he was the person for the job. After a little negotiating, he started work on August 27th, 2007 as a provisional appointee. There was no certified list for the position, and after months of waiting for the test, then the results, I was finally able to appoint him permanently on June 4th, 2008. Bringing him on board has proven to be one of the best decisions I've made in my tenure as purchasing agent. Jason listed team player as one of his positive attributes during the interview. He's proven this to be true, whether working within our own office, with other departments, and with county vendors. I've heard so many times over the years, we just love Jason, or you got so lucky with Jason. And from vendors, your office is one of the best purchasing offices we've ever worked with. He's been entrusted with large and small DPW bids, selling county surplus on gov deals, billing out stockroom orders, and paying invoices for our department, just to name a few of his job responsibilities. Even when he's off, he typically has his laptop on and at the very least is checking email so he can hit the ground running when he returns. Jason's dedication, positive attitude, strong work ethic, and dependability is why I nominated him as Employee of the Month. And I'm extremely grateful for the nearly 15 years of service he's given my office and the county as a whole. Congrats, Jason.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Yeah. We also have two members of the county who has completed the county's leadership training program. And first, I'd like to recognize John Lord, who is the supervisor in Child Protective Services. John? Couldn't make it. And the second one would be Scott Rogers, Director of Facilities. We'll make sure they get their certificates. Next, County Clerk Pam Vogel is a wish to address the board. Pam, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. On the evening of June 15th, 2022, the Warren County Board of Supervisors held its regular monthly meeting, which concluded with public comments. At that time, Warren County Treasurer Mike Swan addressed the board on the quality of service offered by the Warren County Department of Motor Vehicles. Mr. Swan described the DMV, an office which is staffed by 7 civil service employees with a combined 80+ years of experience and overseen by an elected county clerk, as a travesty and a nightmare, and being totally unacceptable to the residents of Warren County. He took the opportunity to briefly describe a relative's experience coming in from out of state for purposes of several vehicle and license transactions. Mr. Swan did not speak with me about that particular event. I do not know the name of the person involved or the date in question, and due to privacy requirements, would not repeat this to you even if I did. As well, Mr. Swan has never approached me about his personal views regarding his office neighbor, the DMV. This correspondence is not about the protocols, policy, or procedures of the Warren County DMV. It is not about the seasonal demands or staffing dilemmas that we often and currently face. It is not about our numbers or even our revenue stream, which are in fact positive for Warren County. And it is not about the 100,000 customers and the 135,000 transactions that we have successfully processed from the onset of the pandemic to this very day. Nor is it about the fact that even with these numbers, the health and safety of our staff were never compromised. What it is about is the tremendous lack of respect shown to the Warren County DMV civil service employees who have before them some of the most challenging duties and responsibilities of any county worker engaged in customer service. The DMV employees' training, knowledge, and expertise are without question and should be recognized in this agency where frequent changes and complexities are the rule of thumb. They are a workforce that works together to get the job done. Do we hit a home run every day? No, we wish we could, but we do try for sure. On January 6th, 2021, at a time when working from home was a common phrase for the general workplace, an individual left a brief note in the DMV drop box. Thank you for getting up, going to work, and doing what you do. I appreciate it very much. To that customer, we say, thank you. We appreciate you as well. I trust that Warren County will once again be a workplace that supports, encourages, and respects those individuals who are in fact the true foundation of government service. And may their work ethic and ability to work together be a reminder to all in leadership positions of what respect is all about. Thank you, and I have no further comments.
Thank you very much. Next, we have up a public hearing on the tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College or SUNY Adirondack. Please.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on June 15th, 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on July 15th, 2022 at 10 a.m. in the Supervisors Rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center located at 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed budget will be heard concerning same. A copy of the tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 22 through 23 is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website.
At this time, does anybody from the public wish to address the board on the SUNY Adirondack ACC budget? Seeing none, does any members of the Board of Supervisors wish to address It's on the tentative budget for ACC. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I stood up, a couple of times, especially on schools and school budgets. And, I was just in a meeting where, we have to learn to start tightening our belt a little and, we have to, there's things coming down the pack that we need to take care of here for our counties, for ourselves. But, I just look at it, every time I turn around, it seems that a school and a school budget or the college budget, and they just keep going up. And I'm not against education. And I'm not against, trying to curtail them. But, in my opinion, when is enough enough? I look at my own Queensbury School for the budget, how many students, how many parents, that go to that school, and, we just get over, 1,000 votes. I don't understand, sometimes, and it's just concerning, but we're coming into some terrible, rough times, I think, ahead, and we really need to tighten about, our budgets. And, and I see, we got a great, the college got a great donation for the, turf and that, but I mean, these are things that is this, really for all our money, but across the board. So I'm just, I have voted no in the past on this, and it's really just to say a voice and not against paying for the educations, but when is enough for education? So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan. Anybody else wish to address the board on the SUNY budget? I'll leave the hearing open and we'll go to the next public hearing. Is there anybody on online that wishes to address this?
No.
Okay. Well, it's next public hearing is proposed local law number 2, enacting local law number 2 of 2022, entitled a local law amending and updating local law number 6 of 2021.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a proposed local law 2 for the year 2022, entitled a local law amending and updating local law number 6 of 2021, entitled a local law amending and updating local law number 5 of 2021, a local law amending and updating local law number 6 of 2014, Warren County Ethics and Disclosure Law. The purpose of the local law is to revise and update the ethics and disclosure law for Warren County in accordance with the provisions of Article 18 of the General Municipal Law. If adopted, local law number 2 of 2022 will supersede Warren County local law number 6 of 21, which established ethical principles and standards to be followed by certain covered persons, including Warren County's elected and appointed officials, its officers, and certain employees in policymaking positions, or who have discretionary authority, and instituted requirements regarding the disclosure of certain interests as defined in the local law in accordance with the required annual filing of written disclosure statements. Notice is further given that pursuant to resolution number 317 of 2022, adopted by the Board of Supervisors on June 30th, 2022, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors in the Supervisors Rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, on July 15th, 2022 at 10 a.m., at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed local law number 2 for the year 2022 will be heard concerning same. A copy of said local law is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website.
Okay, does anybody from the public wish to address the board on the ethics law? Seeing nobody, is there anybody online? Anybody from the Board of Supervisors wish to address the ethics law? Supervisor Stroud.
Yes, thank you. One amendment that I would ask for. If you go to page 9 of 18, which starts off section 20, Board of Ethics. Paragraph A. It says that, it speaks to the 5 members of the ethics board. And it says one of the 5 members shall be an appointed officer or employee of the Warren County. One of the 5 members shall be an elected officer for a municipality located in Warren County. And the 3 remaining members will be members of the public. At the committee meeting, I said that I think it's a good idea that all 5 members of the ethics board come from the at-large community, not an elected official and not a Warren County employee. Inherent in an elected official and a county employee are certain conflicts that I think are apparent to everybody. As a matter of fact, county council at the time said there are legal opinions that say you should have an ethics board and it should not be composed of the employees or elected officials. All right. Having had that legal opinion saying that, he also stated that the state law says that at least one of the members of the Board of Ethics will have to be an employee or elected official. That's the law. All right, so bad enough as it is, and legal opinions agree, why would we make it 2? I mean, why don't we just abide by the law saying one employee or elected official? The other 4 will come from the public at large. It just seems to make a composition of an ethics board that makes a whole lot more sense. That's what I would propose, is having 1, not 2 members of the ethics board be employees or elected officials.
Thank you. Supervisor Dixon,
That's a motion. I'd like to second it.
discussion, is that a form of a motion, John? You amend it?
It is now.
We have a second to amend it. Further discussion, Supervisor Moreno?
I was gonna say what he just said, but I would love to make sure being in a position sometimes that we follow the rules of these ethics board and we follow the rules that are in this whole finding. Not just put some aside or sweep under the table some and move on every one of them that comes forward to that board. That's my only suggestion.
Any other discussion on amendment to the motion? Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure we'll all recall that this went through committee. There was a lively debate regarding it. I know how much the board enjoys these amendments at the time of our resolution meeting. My concern here is that when this Board of Ethics was formed, when this entire committee voted, I believe it was nearly unanimously as it related to the content of the law. We all shared a common belief that there should be representation, both from someone who is a county employee to understand the policies and the procedures that take place here at the county to represent our 800+ employees and municipalities in addition to that on the Board of Ethics. We also went so far as to say that to have someone who's elected, who's not someone elected from different municipalities, but not a member as an employee. And then we also had a lengthy discussion about having members of the public that did not have political affiliations be part of this board. I understand that the reasoning behind this proposed change was the makeup of the municipality / elected needing to have less than a majority on this board. And so the discussion became, do you just remove those requirements or do you expand the board? And I applaud the committee for expanding the board to include more members of the public, specifically because we've had well over 15 applicants for a volunteer job. There are many members in our community that want to be part of this board. I did not understand our county attorney's opinion to mean that we could not have a representative from the county or elected. And I would ask that there be a legal explanation from our county attorney so we are all on the same page. Provided that I'm understanding his legal opinion correctly, I would be opposed to the amendment. And I would certainly hope that members of this board would want representation from all of those arenas on such an important and critical board. And I agree with our supervisor from Lake Luzerne that all complaints, all concerns should come directly to the Board of Ethics and be reported in a transparent and open way. Could we please have the update from our county attorney to clarify what his opinion is?
The governing statute under New York State law has a very simple requirement. And the simple requirement is that a majority of the members shall not be officers or employees of the county or the municipalities in that county. That was the correction that's being made to the prior law in this proposed law. And the current proposal and the amendment do not violate that requirement. The issue that's being addressed, which is also stated under the statute, is that the statute says that at least one of whom shall be an elected or appointed officer or employee of the county or municipality. So simply said, what the statute says is at a minimum, you should have one member who is a public employee, either of the county, whether it's elected or an appointed, I apologize, whether it's an elected or appointed officer or an employee, does not matter. But it can be of the county or any municipality in the county. A municipality is very, very broadly defined. So what the composition is up to the board as a policy position. The only other piece I just wanted to clarify is that in an enormous amount of research on this specific topic, there was only one opinion that was issued many years ago by the Attorney General's office, which was asked to review an ethics policy for a municipality that excluded all members of the public, all public employees from the board. And that one opinion said that that was okay. I'm not recommending that the board rely on that one Attorney General's opinion from a number of years ago, as it does not seem to be the standard of what most boards' compositions are. But as far as whether there's one or two members that are public employees, that's a decision for the board to make, as long as a majority are not public elected, appointed officers or employees.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. So as if I understand it, this will have the three members of the public, one person from the county, and then the fourth person is a municipal person. But like our county attorney just said, that's a very broad definition. So in my mind, that's still going to be someone essentially of the public. It's going to be someone out there either representing one of our towns, a school district. I really think that that's fine. And I'm going to be opposed to the amendment. The other thing I want to mention, I know it's not exactly about this motion, but just quickly, there was some confusion about whether or not the Board of Ethics should be meeting transparently. And this resolution now states, I should say the local law now states that the Board of Ethics will comply with the requirements of open meetings law. So it won't be a misunderstanding anymore. They will have to meet, at least open their meeting in public, and then they can go into executive session. And I completely agree with my colleague from Lake Luzerne that all of these should go to the Board of Ethics for at least an initial review and decision about whether or not to go forward. Thank you.
Supervisor Conover and then Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, there was considerable discussion on this at committee, and I think I might have been the one to raise the question of why we would modify or add to the law that exists for one is and why we would make it two. But it's interesting that the county attorney made the point that the intent of the law is to ensure that the majority of the committee was private. The problem with going to two, as I see it, and the reason I'm going to support the amendment is that a quorum can be achieved with the 5 with 3, which means that 2 of the 3 could be public employees, and you could get a vote of the committee with a majority of the committee being public employees, not private. And so I think that's a problem for me because I think the intent here is that this be privately driven and have a private oversight and overview. And I'm not sure why there should be so much debate on this point, because I mean, why we would fall on our sword over such a thing anyway. But I think that the proposal by Mr. Spell, Mr. Dickinson makes sense for that reason, and I'll be voting for the amendment. Thank you.
Supervisor Hogan,
I withdraw.
Supervisor Wild.
Supervisor Leggett might be next.
No,
I saw the attorney raising his hand.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm in support of the amendment primarily because who really defines ethics? You know, we talk to our constituents and we listen to the public. They're often frustrated about what happens over here at this board, as well as some of the things that happen at the county. I don't feel we should have someone from the county on this board because they might consider the normal operating procedure to be just fine, when in reality it's not. So the more people from the public that we have that can weigh in on whether we're acting ethically or not is, to me, the best way to go. And again, I will support this. Thank you.
Larry, did you have a comment? You mind?
I didn't want anyone to have a misconception because it's a difficult issue to capture. And my office did put a tremendous amount of hours into it, but I did want to address one portion of what the supervisor from Bolton said. What we're talking about is the constitution of the board, what's required in the appointment of the board, not to have quorum for a meeting. I didn't see anything in any case law that said you had to have a majority of the public members present in order to go forward. I didn't want anyone to be under a misconception or to enter a vote based on really a nuance that's hard to pick out, which is we're talking about the Constitution. How is it constituted? Who are those people and what category do they fit in? That has nothing to do with any meeting and establishing quorum at a meeting. I hope that helps clarify that issue.
Supervisor Seaver.
Just as a follow-up then for our county attorney to clarify the supervisor from Bolton, there will never be an instance where there's a majority of 2 county employees or elected officials that would constitute a majority of the quorum, correct? We have 5 members of the board, 2 would be either county or an employee somehow. So a quorum would be 3 of all of those of the board. It's not those in attendance. So if there's only 2 people that show up, you don't have a quorum, you can't vote.
It's my opinion that it does not matter who the 3 people are who attend, as long as you have 3 people and the board is properly constituted under the statute.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I will be supporting this amendment. You know, really, the board of the ethics is really for us and the county. And so and correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, if we can't make this decision because we are the board, they oversee some of the decisions that we can't make. So I believe that Supervisor Stroud is right in bringing up this amendment and it's the majority of the people out, because you're right, you could have a slated vote with the 2 employees and the 1. So I keep it down to 1. So I will be agreeing with this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, that being said, Supervisor Driscoll, am I missing you?
No, you're not, but I would like to.
Supervisor Driscoll and then Supervisor Leggett, and that will be the last word.
Thank you, Chairman. And I appreciate all the comments. There's a very important second part to the discussion, and that's the financial disclosure form that we spent an awful lot of time debating and working on. And I think it's a good form. Every year when we get that financial disclosure form, I put it to the top of my to-do list, and I kind of pride myself in trying to be one of the first supervisors to hand that into Amanda's office. Keep in mind that that's a very important form as far as the general discussion about ethics, and I encourage when next time that we get that form to fill it out and efficiently and get it into the county, because it has a lot to do with the discussion about ethics. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. in the US Constitution, there is, the jury by peers. And in this case, when you have a Board of Ethics reviewing things that are going on within the county itself, who are the peers that are on there? So Supervisor Stroud's amendment does have merit, but as Supervisor Seaver had brought up, that this had come through committee and through discussion, and I am one that usually would side with what comes out of committee based on their deliberations and considerations of a lot of these things. And I think it would be wise to be able to have the voice of a county employee, elected official on the Board of Ethics to be able to give background onto any issue and to be able to give more insight into what might be going on. And that could inform the Board of Ethics to make a better decision. We should not assume that whoever gets appointed to the Board of Ethics is going to not make good ethical decisions on the board, that they would be prone to siding on the wrong side, so to speak. I think we should have trust in our fellow employees and elected municipal officials, and that they would do the right thing. So for that, I will not be voting for the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion. Supervisor Thomas hasn't spoken.
Yeah, so I would just like to point out that in section 20, part A, there is another line there that says the board may appoint alternates. And that will serve in place of the appointed members, and who shall serve in the event a member is unable to be there due to illness, of unavailability, or conflict. So it says, once we appoint these people, they shall be there. So to end up with a quorum of two elected officials and one public, I don't think that should be happening according to what this law says.
Okay. Last word, Supervisor Stroud.
All right, my point is we are the boss. Now you're having one of your employees, and the object of a lot of the Board of Ethics investigation will likely be one of us. So we're the employer, we're the boss. So here you have a subordinate, one of our employees, who have to make a decision about one of us. That is not a good position for that employee to be in. And how objective can that employee be when making decisions about their employer?
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to amend the local law. Are we ready to vote on the amendment? Just amendment. We're not voting on the law. Can we vote? All those in favor of amending the law, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's do a vote. Let's do a roll call then.
Okay.
Too close.
Mr. Merlino,
I'll say yes. But I would have liked another question, but I say yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver. No. Mr. Beatty,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
No.
Ms. Runyon,
No.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
No.
Mr. Diamond,
No.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
No.
Mr. Bruno,
No.
Mr. Driscoll,
No.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
No.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan.
Hello.
No.
I'm a no.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Okay, that.
Your name
vote-
tag is down.
Excuse me, I'm
Going by
sorry.
name tags?
We have 527 votes in favor, so the motion does pass.
It passes to amend the law. Okay.
Excuse me.
Any more comments on the two public hearings? Anything online? Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you. Quick question on the public hearing regarding the Board of Ethics, just for our county attorney. Now that that's been amended, if that vote passes at the full board vote, will we have to remove a member off the Board of Ethics? We were told in committee that we weren't going to have to change the makeup. Everyone on it will just be adding people, could stay. But with this amendment, if it passes at the board, will we be now removing a member?
I'm going to defer that to the county administrator. I'm not
We-
aware of everyone's individual status going forward.
Yeah, so we had, let me see. Let me refresh so the vacancy that we had was a public position. So we had, two individuals serving as members, who were, government people, if you will. And the alternates were, we had two alternates as well. One of the members and one of the alternates indicated they did not want to continue to serve. One of the members and one of the alternates, government, indicated that they did want to continue to serve. So I think we would be okay.
Well, just, can I ask? Oh, sorry.
Supervisor Merlino.
Look, I hate to labor this, but I really did have one more question. Does a person from this board that say, I want to file a charge against Mr. Stroud, doesn't he have the right to be notified he's being charged with unethical situation? Or is it a surprise at the end when the board meets and makes a decision and then you get a letter saying this, that, and the other?
If I can answer that
Sure.
question, that's an excellent question. The prior local law and this local law, because no changes have been made to any other portions of this local law other than what's been discussed here today, which is the composition of the board. They're all the same rules as before. And this board deferred all procedural rules and how that board was going to conduct its business to their discretion. And that ends, the board that was in place did approve a very extensive set of rules to govern the various duties that they have. Now, one thing I just wanted to clarify so everyone's fully aware, the Board of Ethics has no ability to decide anything because they're not a decision maker. As they've been created by the local law, all they can do is give advice. They can only give an advisory opinion to this board on any matter or to any individual who asks for it on any matter that comes before them. So my understanding of the rules as they've been approved is there's a process that's in place so that the board has an opportunity to review a complaint that comes in to determine what, if any, action they're going to take on it. So it's possible under the rules that the former board enacted, should the incoming board also follow them, that complaints that come in that are deemed to be unactionable or where the board decides it's outside their scope, or there's just not a sufficient legal basis or factual basis to go forward, nobody ever hears of them except the board. If a process and an investigation starts to move forward, at that point, due process rights kick in, notifications start to occur, and the first individual that's notified is the individual that's filing the complaint and the individual who, or individuals who are accused of some wrongdoing in the complaint. And then due process continues to increase if and when the investigation becomes more significant in the days and weeks that follow. So it's very possible, hypothetically, that every single member of the Board of Supervisors had a complaint against them, but you wouldn't know it because the Board of Ethics may have decided not to do anything with those because they deemed them to be unactionable or not worthy of further investigation. I hope that kind of helps a little bit. So just because something comes into the Board of Ethics and they look at it, it doesn't mean anybody's being notified unless they're deciding to do something after reviewing it.
Supervisor Bremer.
Thank you. I just want to go back to a second to that question about the current membership. We have a public member, a county member, and a municipal member. And then there's alternates under each of those categories. The amendment that just passed is removing the municipal member. So that member, who's the person on the regular board, municipal member, and the alternate, both of those people are being removed. according to the amendment that just passed.
Thank you.
Is that correct? I mean, I don't see any other way around it. They are municipal representatives, so I don't think they can serve on the board any longer, so they would be removed.
What? My understanding of the amendment that passed is that it's not a slot for a county or municipal employee. It's only a slot for a county employee.
No, the amendment, well, the way it read was one person shall be a member of the Warren County, an employee. One shall be an elected officer for a municipality. We removed that provision and replaced it with a person who, that was according to the motion made by my colleague from Queensberry.
Yes, and the motion,
Remove the member who would be an elected officer from a municipality. So those current people on the board who are an elected officer from a municipality, they are being removed from the Board of Ethics going forward as we reconstitute a new board.
as it was originally submitted, there would have been no changes. If I understand what the intent of the current membership is. With that modification, the current alternate, there would be a member who would not be able to continue on the board because they're not a Warren County officer or employee.
And they can't qualify as a member of the public because they are elected.
Because they're a member of a municipality.
Both the person on the board and the alternate in the municipal category.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I think my understanding is it may only impact one of those individuals.
Okay,
Yeah, if I misunderstood the amendment, I apologize. The member who indicated they wanted to continue is the county member. And the alternate who indicated they wanted to continue was the municipal alternate. So if the amendment is only county, then that does affect the municipal alternate.
why doesn't it not also affect the municipal main person? They don't want to continue?
Correct.
Okay.
Supervisor Driscoll?
Just a point so I understand this. When would the removals begin? I think that if these community volunteers accepted the responsibility of a one-year assignment, in my opinion, it's fair that they should be able to continue that one-year service, whether that's December 31st or whatever the startup date. Just a thought.
Reconstituting. Supervisor Beatty?
So let me get this clear. So we kick off a guy who, or a lady who was volunteered, who falls under the public official, not paid, volunteer, we kick them off. So then do they qualify, but they don't qualify, or maybe they do, as now a public resident? Do they qualify under that status? I mean, it's almost like we're being discriminatory.
But
Am I missing something?
without getting too much into details about the persons, the people that are involved. Yes, the answer to the question is yes. There could potentially be qualification as a member of the public.
So we kick them off because they volunteered and they're classified as quote an official, which Larry said is a very broad definition. So we get people volunteering out there in the community. They volunteer, they put their energy in, they're not paid. But we kick them off the ethics board and say, okay, we're kicking you off, but you can try to get back on as just a mere public person. But how can they do that if they're still an official on a school board or whatever? How can they do both? I don't see how that qualifies. You can't kick them off because they're a school board employee or whatever, and then turn around and say, right, now you can apply as a regular person, but he's still or she's still a school board employee. I would say that would.
There's an answer to this question that I'm not comfortable giving in public session.
Well, okay, well, how can we get an answer then? Because to me, we're almost being discriminatory.
We could go into executive session or I could give you an answer privately.
I take a executive session. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session because I don't want to be discriminatory towards anyone.
Okay, you're making a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second to go to executive session.
I'll second.
Supervisor Hogan? Is that a motion? A
I'm seconding.
Second? What's the reason for the executive?
To discuss a appointment of an individual or corporation.
Okay. I know we're gonna do a voice, we'll do a roll call on this.
On the motion to go.
Can I just suggest a point of order? Just like,
Go ahead.
is there a way in considering this executive session that we allow the members from the public that are here for privilege of the floor to speak before we go into executive session since they've already been waiting an hour?
I think this will be quick.
With all due respect, they've been here an hour.
Let's just vote on the executive session. Hang on.
Me, Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
No.
Mr. Wild,
No.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Runyon,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes, yes, so.
Mr. Leggett.
No.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson. Oh, sorry. Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Back it up about.
Go into executive session, we'll ask. Who are you? Everybody remove from the room, please.